be here for it. All right. So, first of all, thanks for being on. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time with you guys today. And, what I did was I reached out to 3 people that have been excelling, with the virtual presentations and doing a great job. And there are a number of you that are. And, what I wanted to do was just kind of, first of all, remind you that when we're doing the virtual, what my mindset would be is that there really is no difference between a virtual presentation or a regular presentation. There's really no difference between the two. They're pretty much the same thing. However, it's the same thing that when I'm on the phones, I have to be a lot more clear because they can't see me. They can't see my body language. They can't see my facial expressions. Well, guess what? When you're not in the house and you're not actually there with the people, they can't feel your presence. They can't feel your energy. And so everything that you do on a Zoom call virtually has to be exaggerated. Like if you ever have gone to a play, if you've ever gone to a musical, if you've ever seen people who are actors, they have to be a bit more extreme than the norm. Otherwise, they can't communicate their message and nobody will ever go and see them. And so in our business, now that we've made this transition, okay, which by the way, which by the way, as we make this transition, to me, number one, how are you going to do business right now if you can't do virtual? You're going to go into houses? I'm not. I don't even let people come to my house. You know what I'm saying? Mark's wife was out of town. And so I hung out with Mark Bruce for a little bit on Friday. And for like 5 days afterwards, I'm like, I hope I didn't get sick. Man, this guy was in houses. And you know what I mean? Like I was nervous about it. So like, it's not even a reality. Like we can't even do business. And I'm looking at the financial analysis. We got people getting $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 and $6,000 a month in renewals that have been here for like not even 3 years. It's unbelievable. Where else are you going to go? The economy just laid off 10 million people. Make sense? So it's like, it may not be perfect and we got to learn something new, just like we're all brand new agents. And I don't know about you, but for me, my attitude, my mindset is this is exciting. I get to be on the ground level of something that has never been approved before. I can give a presentation in Dallas, then give one in Austin, then give one in Houston, all in the same day. Am I going to have to work a little bit harder in the beginning because I'm learning something new? Yes, just like with everything else. The first time you ever do anything, you're not going to be good at it. The second time, probably not going to go great. The third time, probably not going to go great. But what happens over time is you get better, better and better and better. And what we know is that agencies across the country, their people are closing higher percentage. They're writing more business than they were writing before on the virtual. So I know it's simply a mindset thing, an execution thing. And I'll tell you something, the agencies that are doing the best have given the least direction of what to do because their attitude is nothing has really changed. Yeah, I got to send a couple more reminders. It's a little bit more tedious, but let me tell you what's not tedious. Saving yourself 45 minutes or an hour drive to the office back and forth 2 to 3 times a week. Just in that, you save 5 or 6 hours. Wear and tear on your vehicle, mileage on your car, maintenance on your vehicle. To me, I was just waiting for something like this to be approved because to me, this takes everything to the next level. Your expenses are significantly low. We had an agent that said that they didn't think it was fair that they had to pay the $14.99 a month for the Zoom Pro membership. Otherwise, after 40 minutes, your call gets cut off and you got to restart it, which is super unprofessional. I'm like, you do realize you'd be spending at least $15 a day or more every day just in gas money, right? So this is the difference between an employee mindset and an entrepreneur or business owner or an enterprising person mindset. Because people that are employees, they're being laid off across the country. Entrepreneurs, business owners, people that are on commission, that are able to earn as much money as they want to, we make our own opportunity. We make our own rewards. Nobody tells you how much money you're allowed to make. You make money based on how well you do your job. At what level do you execute things? How hard you're willing to work. How many no's are you willing to get? For me, there's no shame in my game. I'll call, I'll try. I'm not going to take no for an answer. And if I get a no, it's no big deal. It's on to the next one. You know what I mean? Just more fuel for the next sit. And so we got to make sure we're in the right mindset to take full advantage of this. So I identified, really 3 areas that I think, you hearing from people that are doing a really great job. And there's a bunch of you that are doing a great job. So if some of you are not included in this, it doesn't mean you're not doing a great job. They were just the first ones that came to mind. And I want to mix it up a little bit. We're not going to have the same people speaking every single time. We're going to mix it up and give you some different flavors from different people, because right now, guess what? You're learning, they're learning, I'm learning, we're learning. We're learning something new, okay? So I want to be able to get different, perspectives, and then, to take everything and try to boil it down so we can figure out what exactly are the best practices, okay? What exactly are the best practices? But the areas that I identified is, number 1 is, making sure you have a high show ratio and referrals. So the person that, I happen to have speaking to you guys about the show ratio that has given a bunch of sit downs. She's also doing a phenomenal job on referrals. I hope you don't think that's weird. That when you get referrals and you're referred to someone, the show ratio, when it comes with a personal recommendation, is going to be a lot higher. Okay. Second, I thought it was important for you to get some tips on how do you maintain control in a virtual presentation? How do you build rapport? How do you get trust? Okay. And so I looked at people who, I believe have that skill set and are proving with a very high closing percentage, okay, on the laptop, that they are establishing the proper environment to make sales. And the third thing that I thought was really important for you guys to know is straight closing. How do you get people to close deals? Okay. We're closing at a lower ratio than we were before virtual, and the rest of the country is closing higher. So it's like, I don't think just the people in, like, somehow in our agency, because it ain't true for the rest of Texas, because they got an office in El Paso and Vinny Camp's agency is doing better. Offices in Dallas, they're closing at a higher percentage. It can't be, there's no way, unless we're overthinking it. So I wanted to get from someone whose closing percentage has gone up ever since we went virtual to share some words of advice with you guys on things that you can do. And so with that, what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the closing part first, because Adrian Alfred has something that he's got to do with his son. And I just kind of sprung this on these guys yesterday. So Adrian, are you on the call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Adrian is doing a phenomenal job. Last week for the March Madness contest, he got credit for over $7,000 in production. This week so far, he's already given 11 virtual presentations, sold 6 of those presentations. He's collected 27 referrals. He's seen 6 referrals and sold 4 referrals. On top of that, he's gotten, I don't know how many reinstatements, Adrian, you've done in the last 2 weeks, probably 3, 4, 5 reinstatements on top of all the business that's being written. And Adrian is a competitor. He's a defending March Madness champion. And so with that, Adrian, go ahead and give them some heat, some fire on closing, how to close at a high percentage.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Well, I'm going to get to the point. I always believe, and I tell my team, is about ABC, always be closing. I ignore the BS that people tell me about whatever they trying to tell me that I don't want to hear, because I know buyers are liars. I keep talking because this is my presentation, and I'm staying in control. I'm constantly getting tie-downs with phrases like, wouldn't you agree? Does that make sense? I'm adding up all those yeses to make it a no-brainer for them. All right? How I'm increasing my closing percentage on Zoom? I relate to what's going on right now with the coronavirus. You know what? We never saw nothing like this before. I'm emphasizing the need. the mandatory read-off letter. The decision does have to be made today, not tomorrow. I need a yes today. I don't even emphasize the no. I need a yes today. Body language on the list of concerns. I'm watching podcasts of Jim Sarace, Andy, Mike on the grind. I'm seeing how these guys are making me feel them. You know, feel their presence so they know this is important. I'm coming in and bringing that fire to them. The next thing I'm doing too, when I get to the health questions, what Mike was saying earlier, I'm over exaggerating. I'm going like I'm reading the questions. And when I even get a yes, even on 29A, I sit back, go like, oh, and they looking at what's going on. I say, you know what? When I last time to the doctor, about a year ago, wow, with this coronavirus, I said it's gonna be tight, but let's keep going. You want some medicine? I'm keep going. I'm creating that urgency, you know, because I'm telling them it's not their money that qualifies them for these programs, it's their good health. So again, I'm making them think the whole time. I'm putting pressure on the system, putting pressure on them to make that decision right then. The things that I learned through this, through Zoom, is that first you got to believe in yourself. You know, I had to believe in myself. I'm a salesperson. You're salespeople. I didn't want to do this at first either. I got used to doing it one kind of way. But you got to just change your mind and thinking. It's way easier to do in the house. The problem is discipline. You know, you got to go ahead and be able to ask people for help. I went to an agent, not a leader or something. I just went to somebody with some experience. I said, you know what, who was doing, sounded better than me with Zoom. Andy told me she was really good at Zoom. I went to Shanae, and I worked with her for hours on how to get the Zoom thing working. So ask for help, you know. And when you're working at home, you can't have any distractions with kids, Facebook, TV, nothing. I'm in a secluded room. I stayed in that room for over a week. Didn't even stay in the room with my wife and kids. 16-hour days. You know, when you work, you work. You got to, practice don't make perfect, and make permanent. You got to keep pushing. Stay coachable and stay hungry. And the last thing I tell you about this thing, about you always got to, Andy always telling me to pitch big. And this is the time to pitch big with that letter Mike just put out about the 70-year-olds, only 5,000 we can give them, so 75 years old. Pitch big to everybody. This is urgent right now. We don't know what's going to happen with this. And the 3 tips I can tell you about increasing, I did what Vic said. I'm showing a family picture. I'm with my profile. I'm showing them. I'm sending them. I'm a family guy. I'm building that rapport. They see that thing and say, you know what? You know, you have a beautiful family. I know you're going to say that. All this is a setup. You got to constantly role play. Where you guys where you guys script at? Carry my script with me all the time. You got to keep going over that. Role play with solidification. Role play. Stop smiling too much. That's what my daughter told me while I was doing this, but I couldn't sell at first. You smiling too much. You know, you got to embrace this. Again, keep emphasizing the big things, list of concerns, mandatory read-off letter, and those health questions. You're going to build a disaster waiting to happen, and there's only one solution for that disaster. That's insurance from you, and that's a no-brainer. That's what I tell them.
So, Adrian, what you're saying is, you know, what I'm taking from it is that you create a tremendous amount of urgency in the presentation so that they're decisive. Because, guys, the reality is that our default as human beings is hesitation. I don't know about you, but when the building's on fire, I'm not following the person that's like, I think maybe the way we get out of here maybe is this way. Or, you know what? It might be that we got to go a different way. I don't follow that person. I follow the person that says, this is what we got to do. This is where we got to go. This is what's got to happen. You know what I'm saying? So when we're sitting with these families, your hesitation becomes magnified. They will basically mirror whatever you're doing. So if you're all unsure of yourself and hesitant because you haven't studied your presentation, you don't have the words mastered, you've not focused on your body language, well, then what's going to happen is that they're going to be hesitant as well. If you can't give a definite recommendation of what they should be doing, you know what's going to end up happening? They won't take it. They're never going to take a recommendation you don't give. They're never going to operate with urgency when you don't give them the authority that they should. And so, so many key things that Adrian hit on about the health questions and making sure we build that up, letting people know, guys, look, here's the reality right now. The reason that they want us to get out to you, as all the financial publications have said, is because right now there's a major need for what we do. And down the road, things could change. Companies are taking a lot of risk. They've already instituted some limitations on what we're allowed to do for people right now, given the current environment. You want to get in on as much coverage as you can qualify for before they place future limitations on things, because once you have it, they can't take it away.
Correct.
If we wait, even a month or 2 months or 3 months, they could change things. I mean, we got an email earlier this week, boom. We are limited on how much we're allowed to give people in certain classifications. And so yours could be next. There's no controlling it. There's no way for us to know. And so I'm trying to help as many families as possible. I don't want to take no for an answer from nobody. You know what I mean? I take what I do seriously. Are you that passionate? Are you that willing to put yourself out there to really serve people? Or do you want it to just be easy and the money to fall in your lap? It don't work that way. The economy doesn't work that way. And if you want to make a lot of money in this business, you got to work hard. You got to be passionate, and you got to make a decision to be great at what you do. You can't go in there with this, everything's positive and all good. We're in the life insurance business. It's not supposed to be that way. This would be the equivalent of, I sell roofs. I knock on your door. I come into your house. I say, hey, Adrian, beautiful home. By the way, you got a great roof. Oh, by the way, we should fix it. If there's no problem, there's no need for a solution. So let's be smart and wise as closers. Closing starts from the beginning, from the initial phone conversation, which leads me right into my next person, which is going to be Xavier Williams. Xavier, as you guys know, in her first full month in the business, was the #1 producer in our office, wrote over $20,000 in business, okay? Doing a phenomenal job. And, she's been given 4 and 5 and 6 presentations a day, with about 2/3 of those presentations as referrals on virtual. She's written about $4,500 in business in the last 6 field days. A lot of that business has been referral business. So I said to her, Xavier, can you talk about a couple things? Number 1 is, how do you get such a great show ratio? And number 2, what are the things that you're doing from a referral standpoint that has allowed you to get so many and see so many referrals? Because actually she's setting a very high percentage of the ones that she's collecting. So Xavier, are you on the call?
I am here.
All right. Yes, I hear you. Let me find you. Let me get you highlighted. Oh, there you are. All right. Let me spotlight your video for everybody. All right, Xavier, the floor is yours. You and I spoke last night, and I appreciate you taking the time to share some of the stuff that you've been doing. Been doing a phenomenal job, and you got to be loving this as a mother to children, of not having to leave your house, being able to be there for your family, and still make the income that you're making. Has got to be phenomenal. So go ahead. The floor is yours. It looks here like we got a little bit of a bad connection. You're frozen, but I'm sure we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. But anyways, good morning, guys. So yeah, it is great being able to work at home and interact a little bit more with my kids. But like Adrian and Mike were both saying, the #1 thing about these virtual presentations is yourself. If these people are watching you on camera and you look like you have a lot going on, they're going to start doing something else. When we first started switching over to virtual, I was a little nervous because I'm just not getting in the groove of going into the homes and things like that. But in my first couple of days, it showed. It showed because I was kind of nervous, and I got hung up a couple times. It was crazy. But once I kind of realized, okay, you know what? This is why people are hanging up. This is why I'm not maintaining kind of control over the phone. Maybe when I'm making the appointment, I need to adjust some things. So what I personally did was, I kind of went over the presentation script and everything. And I said, where can I maximize, referrals at? And honest, it's the transition points. You know, just like in a child safe kit, whenever you're asking them, you know, who do you know, families with children, things like that, they're going to give you people. The very, very next thing I do is I ask them, out of the people you gave me, who's the most important to you? They're going to tell you it's going to be their siblings, it's going to be their best friends, it's going to be, you know, people that are close to them. So then after that, I just tell them, okay, perfect. So go ahead and get them on the phone, you know, and let's see if I can sit with them today, because if they're a priority to you, I want them to be a priority to me too. Okay. Worst case scenario, they're at work. Leave them a message and at least just tell them my name, so that when I call them or send them a reminder text, they know that it's me. The reminder texts are extremely, extremely, extremely important, because I don't know about you guys, but how many times do you answer the phone for a number that you don't know?
We lost you for some reason. I can't hear you. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Now, if they're at work, cool, leave them a message. You know, that's pretty much how I collect referrals. Another thing I tell you, oh, your name's Xavier? Yes, this is me. Oh, okay, yeah, they're ready right away. They already have it in their heads what's going on, and they're ready to sit and listen to whatever you have. Another thing, people don't want people in their homes right now. Everything is social media, everything is computer. So as soon as you tell them, oh, we're doing it over a Zoom call, oh, I know what that is, kind of like Skype. Exactly, just like Skype. So once you start being relatable, and once you start letting them know, like, this is something that's done for modern day times, and because of everything that we have going on, they're for it. They're like, you know, let's transition to the next thing. How are we going to go into, you know, getting all this stuff done like this? And I tell them, well, all the benefits will be mailed to you. The presentation, it doesn't take long at all. I just need a couple minutes of your undivided attention. Another thing was keeping, you know, activity high in the field. Okay. It's very, very important that even with referrals, if somebody is hesitant on the phone, I make sure I double book that spot. Always, always, always. Number one, because sometimes things come up. We don't mean for them to, but they do. So whenever, you know, you have work, I had a bunch of people, you know, they get called into work right now. They're not really, you know, stable at work, but they're getting called into work. They don't know when. Perfect, no problem. I'm double booking that spot. Why? Because if you get called into work, you're probably not going to answer the phone. You're probably not going to be available, and it's no big deal, but I got to work. So I got to have somebody else to sit. You know what I'm saying? The thing about collecting referrals for me is they stress that so much every morning. Rest of stress. So I'm collecting referrals so that I'm not having to 100% depend on my lead pack. Okay. Now the lead pack is great, but as kind of like a backup, because if you send a whole bunch of referrals, you're not really, you know, seeing too many people from your lead pack. So in the event that one day you can't get a lot of referrals, or maybe, you know, you having an off day or something, you still have your lead pack to come on to. You're still generating income, and you don't script. So you're still being able to generate business. To send them a link, and I'll walk them through the steps of exactly how to download the Zoom. That is also another important thing. Make sure you do it on the phone, because if somebody called me like, oh, I'm gonna send you a link, yeah, I'm not checking that. So do it right now. Let me go ahead and help you. It's only gonna take me 5 extra minutes. So go ahead and do it right now. Let me get you downloaded and everything. That way tomorrow, when it comes to our appointment time, all you gotta do is type in that number, and then we're connected and you see my beautiful face. Good morning. That's how I do everything. So it's pretty much just about making sure that you're confident in what you're doing. Being at home, it can be distracting. You know, I have 3 kids, so I make sure that when I'm working, they're in their own area. They can't bother me, and they know, don't come in here. So make sure that your backgrounds and everything are clear, because people get distracted very easy. I have a short attention span, so if I can't watch videos and stuff for too long, and people are like that. So I tell them, you know what, I'm going to make this as quick as possible for you because I know how I am. You know, I have so much going on. I also let them know that it's very urgent. You know, I have to see so many people. So I squeeze you in today. You know, they're like, oh, gee, you know, I don't want to waste her time. They're not going to. They're going to listen. They're going to give you the presentation. If your presentation is bomb, they're going to buy. So that's what I do to get referrals, enroll them, and, you know, things like that.
Awesome, Xavier. Thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. You know, the biggest thing that I see from you, aside from just the execution of executing at a high level and learning from your mistakes, is that you're determined to be successful at what you do. You've made a determination in your mind. And Sun Tzu said years ago in The Art of War, he said that a victorious warrior wins the battle in their mind first, then steps foot on the battlefield, while a defeated warrior steps foot on the battlefield and then hopes to win the battle. So you got to decide if you're going to be a victorious warrior or a defeated warrior, and that's based on your preparation. And so you've prepared yourself, not just from a business standpoint, but also mentally to take full advantage of the opportunity, and that's why you're doing so well. So I appreciate you sharing that with everybody. The third guest speaker that I wanted to kick it over to is Mark Bruce. Mark has consistently been, probably been our most consistent producer. I don't think he's had a month where he's written, less than $10, $12, $15,000 in business. He just wrote about $15,000 net last month with management responsibilities on top of that. And, Mark and I have a lot of similarities, but, he's kind of an old school kind of guy. You know what I mean? Likes to see people in person and interact with people in person. So going virtual for him was like last second. I mean, he waited as long as he possibly could. This guy was still out seeing families and knocking on doors and being in homes. And, so finally he switched to it. All of a sudden, he ends up, starts to pop, and he's just closing everybody. I mean, he's closing everybody, getting sits, closing. He goes, it's crazy. I just made like $1,000 sitting at home today. I mean, where else in America could you go and make $200,000-$300,000 a year from the comfort of your home in a few hours a day just for being great at your job? And I think one of the things that makes Mark really great in our business is that he's good at connecting with people. He has tremendous control in the way that he communicates. And so what I asked him to talk about was just control, rapport, and trust, CRT, which I always talked a lot about when it comes to the field. On the laptop, it's a little bit different when you're doing it virtually. And so I wanted him to share some of the tips and things that he's learned, over the course of the last week and a half as he started to dive into this thing. So Mark, you're on the call?
I'm here, Mike.
All right, cool. So let me go ahead and spotlight your video. Where can you speak?
Where's Waldo type of deal?
I'll find you. I'm gonna try to maximize this. I have no idea why I'm not seeing you right now, but I'll find you. Is your mic, your video's on, right?
It is.
Okay. Usually I'm pretty good at this, but for some reason I'm not finding you. But anyways, there you are. So Mark, go ahead and share with everybody some of your thoughts and things that you and I talked about last night. I didn't give you anything to say. I just kind of gave you the stuff that I think would be valuable.
Sure. And Mike was right, guys. I was extremely hesitant with this. I'm old school, I mean, when I was in high school, we didn't even have cell phones, I'm gonna age myself a little bit. I mean, we had pagers, and when I got out of school, American Online was starting. So, my grandparents raised me. So I had a chance to speak with one of Mike's good friends, Iliak, and very, very, very neat guy. And he kind of went over the fact that, he thought that was probably why I was having a hard time converting to it, because the hero in my life that raised me, was raised in a total different generation. I'm more of a realist, but he also brought out the fact that, realists by heart are pessimists. And, in order to convert here, basically I'll make it simple. You want to be rich or you want to be a realist? You have to be an opportunist, and you have to thrive on things with change and adapt really quick. So I really, really enjoyed the chance of getting to meet him and spending a little time with Mike and them kind of lining me out and kind of giving me a boot in the butt, if you will, on getting this going. But, you know, I remember the first sale, I kind of did what Mike did in his first sale in the field. You know, I made the sale. I kind of looked up at my wife and it was over. And I was like, that just really happened. Like, I literally just sat here and made that kind of money. And I was looking at my wife the whole time, and I'm here, and it was like no gas money. You know, I was safe. You know, it's just crazy. But anyway, yeah, I think the things that I'm going to talk about, the things that Mike was wanting me to speak about, I have some similarities with Xavier and Adrian as far as being confident. I mean, if people are not going to buy you, they're not going to buy anything that you have. I don't care if you have cost-free benefits. I don't care what you have for them. I mean, if you're coming to them with things to protect their family and you believe in the value of them and you're confident with yourself, they're going to buy from you because they first buy you first. You know, then they're going to buy what you think is important for them. You know, the first thing that I do is I make the purpose of the conversation clear and I work towards it. Okay, I don't beat around the bush. I'm not like, you know, wanting to, yes, I want them to be friends, of course. Yes, I want to do that, but I have something important for them and I bring urgency with it. You know, I'm confident in myself and I know that I've set aside an hour of my time and in hopes that they're going to set an hour of their time aside. And I portray that, hey, you know what? I've done that for you guys. So I expect the same in return. You know, I think the fact that we can do this through video now, I play on that. Like, wow, this is so neat, guys. We can actually do this. I actually wrote a lady that was 68 and her husband, and they were fired up. They barely knew how to use the computer, but it was so easy, me walking them through it, downloading everything, getting them, seeing them, and then calling them the next day. And it was just like, boom, there we are. And they were so fired up that I didn't have to come over and endanger them, you know, by, which by the way, Mike, I don't even have a sniffle, so don't worry about that. You know, doing it through the computer, you know, it was great. But I also, something that Mike does on a daily basis, he is a great motivational speaker, a great speaker, period, is being clear with your speech and pronunciate. You know, you have to get your point across to them. And if you're slurring, if you're not talking loud enough, well, you know, you need to be sitting up straight. You need to be sitting far enough back that they could see you because you can convey body language through the camera, even though you're not there in front of them. That was a big deal for me because I'm eccentric. Anybody that knows me, I'm a very eccentric person. You know, it takes me next to no time to get to know you and takes me next to no time to get close to you. But I do that through personality and, you know, just basically finding out who you are. It's hard to do that. A little bit harder through video, but it's basically the same. I think it was hard for me because I had trouble converting from being in the house to being in my house and talking to them. So it's really the same. You know, there's nothing's changed. And I think that if you're confident in what you're doing and what you have, we still have great benefits for these people. However, we have to give them to these families, protect these families. We could still do that in the safeness and being confident in the area of our own home. You know, as far as building rapport, what I like to use is whenever I'm building rapport with somebody, I like to use my active listening skills. And what I mean by that is when I'm finding out who you are, I am listening to you, but I'm also finding out things like where I can get referrals from. Okay. What kind of policy and the points that we have for you is going to benefit you the most? You know, how can I protect your family with what you're telling me about you? And all that being said, and all that's going on in my head, I'm holding a conversation with this person to get closer to them. And I'm building similarities between me and that person as well at the same time to let them know, hey, I'm not a salesman. I'm a person just like you. I'm here to serve, not sell. That makes sense? So I guess in building rapport, the most important thing is you want to keep it in between 5 to 8 minutes, but don't rush through a lot of it. You know, some of you might have to role play with your significant other on that. I don't know. I just kind of was born with that. I mean, I do like to talk. So the thing I have to worry about is talking too much and keeping the report time in the specified minutes that the process and script allows for it. So I'm not in the home too terribly long, so I can make all of my sits. And it still goes, while you're in your home. I mean, while we're on the computer too, it's still the same thing. But being efficient and capable in conveying to them that you are a real person and that you have values and that you're here to serve, not sell, is very, very important. And last but not least, I think trust is huge, and you gain a lot of that through rapport, okay, by telling them that you are a real person. I personally use an agent statement, okay? I tell them who I am. I tell them my age, that I'm married. I tell them about my son. I even tell them about my dogs, my animals, tell them where I live, where I grew up. I want them to know, again, that I am a real, legitimate person, and I do care about what I do. And that's real. I mean, that's not, I love what I do. I love protecting families. It took me a long time to really kick in from like, wow, I can make so much money to this, to wow, I change lives while I do this too. It's great. And I also tell them that for a long period of time, I really thought I missed my calling in life of being in the medical field. I really thought I was supposed to save lives, but little by little, it finally dawned on me, I do that. I just don't do it immediately. I do it down the road. I protect families and I save them from horrible, financial crisis situations while they're trying to get over and mourn, the lost loved one, So I think those things, I think if we had several people that are top producers here speak, would go over the same kind of points that, we made here. I'm sure Mike, I mean, he's done it in several speeches that, this is not, this is pretty standard, I mean, what people, how they can, how you can gain control, how you can build rapport with people and gain their trust, and really and truly, if you stick to the process, you stick to the script, it's all in there, you put yourself in there too, but it's all right in front of you. So, I mean, I guess that's what gives me the success that I have, and the fact that I strive to, fulfill the same shoes I did last month and a little more, each month, and getting better and better at it, Mike. I mean, I really appreciate you and everything that you give us, but that's pretty much how I do what I do, man.
Awesome, Mark. Great job. A lot of great tips. And, one of the things that, I'll tell you guys that really reminds me as Mark speaks, that what really reminds me of kind of my mindset on the business is, number one is that, first of all, they're human beings just like we are. And if we can't connect on a human level first, it's going to be impossible to connect on a business level. On the business side of things, what we're providing for these families so far outweighs the benefit that you're going to get from the work that you do. So if Mark last month writes $15,000 in net ALP, which is about what he wrote, that $15,000, he collected about $1,200 or $1,300 in monthly bank draft. But the amount of life insurance that will pay out to those families that he sat down with so far exceeds the income that Mark was able to make last month. And so that's what I always try to, make sure we keep in mind. The other part of it is that it's really hard to trust somebody that is not completely honest with you. And it's hard to create a sense of trust with someone that isn't sharing something personal about themselves with you. So when you do that, it's a rapport and a trust thing. I'm going to trust you to know some intimate stuff about me, about my family, about where I grew up, about how old I am, my animals, my kids, my wife. And that's how we're going to build our relationship. I'm a normal person just like you. I don't bite, okay? If I can't help you, I'm certainly not going to hurt you. And there's never been a time when people can recognize just how challenging it can be to lose a loved one and their income forever than right now, as people are, in some cases, going through a week or two of no income, and they're not sure how they're going to pay their rent. I mean, imagine if it's tough after 2 or 3 weeks, imagine losing your income forever. And so actually it's never been more important than it is now. Because I gotta tell you, Grubhub, Uber Eats, they're breaking records. I mean, they've never sold so much food that, guys, you will buy, you know this, you'll buy tacos for $20 for you and a significant other. You could make those suckers at home for $4, right? We just throw $16 out the window. You know what I mean? Every single week, I guarantee families are throwing 30, 40, 50 bucks just out the window every single week on stuff they don't even need. The best thing that they can do is take a small percentage of that, eat at home, one extra time a week, whatever it may be, to make sure their family is protected, because it's not money that buys this stuff, it's their health. Their health changes, God forbid, they may not be able to qualify for the benefits, or when they need the benefits the most, they can't use them. You know, I don't throw a seatbelt on in the car after I get into an accident. I do it before I do, so that way, if I do get into an accident, I'm already protected. I don't throw the seatbelt on expecting to get into an accident, but just in case, I know I can't put it on afterwards. Our program is the exact same way, okay? You can't put it on after you've already had the accident, after you've already had a tragedy. You have to have it on first, so that way you're protected when that happens. Does that make sense to you? That's why this is so important. And that's how the closing cadence goes. That's how you build the momentum for your closing. You know what I mean? I'm fully focused 100%. Like you're going to be my client. You know what I mean? On the worst day of your life, I'm going to be the person you call. You know what I mean? I don't take no for an answer. I don't. You know what I mean? I take what I do so seriously. The families I sit down with, they all enroll in these benefits. That's what everybody's doing nowadays. All the families that I'm talking to are, you know, getting in on this. As a matter of fact, we got thousands of people waiting to be seen right now. That's why I have this time set aside just for you right now. So you got to be passionate about what you do. You got to be determined and focused, and you got to be a professional, guys. You know, remember on webcam, you got to be a professional. Okay. So a couple tips that I want to give you guys, you know, on, you know, making sure you give your best virtual presentations. First of all, you got to have the right equipment. Okay. Webcams that you purchase outside of what's on your computer or laptop tend to be significantly superior to the ones that come with your computer. Okay. And so, you know, I would recommend investing the money in getting a really, really good webcam that is at least 1080p, bare minimum, high def. Okay. Because it's going to give them a better experience. It's also going to give the impression to the person seeing you, man, they've invested in this. They're professionals. They take what they do seriously. Look how much better theirs looks than mine. Okay. So that's one thing, is make sure you have the right equipment. I talked about this the last time. I always make sure I use a good microphone. I recommend this one, Blue Snowball. You get it for 40, 50 bucks. They have a higher version of it. It's about 70. And they also make one called a Yeti. That's the kind of the next level up. The Yetis may be, I think the new Yeti that just came out, the Nano, it's a smaller one. Maybe it's like 150 bucks. But it gives the people you're speaking with a better audio experience than you can get from your webcam or from your laptop. You just want to make sure your settings in Zoom are using that as the default microphone and the webcam, okay? A third thing when we talk about, you know, having the right equipment and all that is making sure that you have the right lighting. Lighting is critical for anybody that knows anything about photography. Actually, more important, the number one most important thing is light in photography. And same thing, we're on video. Okay, so you got to make sure you have the right lighting. Guys, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes if I'm in my office, it's a little bit dark in there. It doesn't look right. I will take my phone. I will turn on I'll turn the flashlight on my phone, and I'll prop it up against my monitor so I have better lighting when I'm speaking with people, so that it's the proper and appropriate lighting. I have professional lighting as well. And I would, if I was an agent right now or a manager and I was building a career and I wanted to go virtual, I would get whatever equipment I would need. I'd buy a $50 light that they use for photography studios or video recording studios to make sure I got the best light when I'm speaking with these families. The more you invest, the better your presentation is going to be. And it's a game of inches. You've got to get every single inch. Okay, so number one, make sure you've got the right stuff that you need. And in time, you may invest in a home office, a desktop. They have a lot more capacity than laptops. multiple screens. I always use 2 screens. I can't stand looking at just one. This allows you to have the Zoom open and whatever you're sharing open, or whatever you're sharing plus something else open. So you want to make sure you have the right equipment. Number 2, you want to make sure you have all the documentation, presentation materials that you need. Okay. I would still be using a lot of the eApp stuff, that I would be sharing my screen. Make sure when you share the screen, you share it with the sound. So if you play a video, they can hear it. But I would be still kind of guiding them through the process, using the eApp screen as well a little bit. But you want to make sure you have the newest Q&R checklists. You want to make sure you have all of the presentation worksheets that we use. We've shared this stuff on Dropbox over the course of maybe this weekend or next week. We are going to create on our website on vasuagency.com a docs section where you can log in, and every worksheet, every PDF, every single thing will be on there so that you can access it right from your computer or from your phone, and you could save it yourself on your computer if you want to. Right now we have everything in Dropbox, and just make sure you get the Dropbox link from your MGA. All the MGAs are shared on it. It has like pretty much all of our stuff for the presentation in there, or I can share it with you. Okay, so that's really, really important, is making sure you have the right materials and you're ready to give these presentations in the home. The third thing is you want to make sure that you're appropriately dressed. If you're a man, that you're, well shaven, well groomed, taking care of yourself. I understand that it's very hard to get a haircut nowadays. However, you can probably find someone that can do it for you if you need to. We're in a people business. And so, how can I convince someone that I'm going to take care of them if I'm not doing everything I can to take care of myself? Now, I may be ugly, but if I'm ugly, I'm still going to make sure I take care of myself. You know what I mean? I know I'm going to worry about I can't control this face I was born with, but I can control if I take care of my hair, if I take care of my beard, if I try to take care of myself to the best of my ability. Not being vain, it's just a reality that people tend to want to work with people that take care of themselves. If you don't take care of yourself, I have a hard time believing you're going to take care of me. Third, make sure you're at a place with the right posture, with a neutral background or something that's not distracting. Okay? Like I've seen people have crazy backgrounds on Zoom, not necessary. Try to find something that's just very neutral. If you have the ability to do a virtual background, do something very simple. Something like you can find them if you just Google. Like there's a book that John Maxwell wrote, and he said, "Good leaders ask great questions." Good leaders ask great questions. And one thing I'll tell you is that the questions I've asked in my career at American Income have done so much more for me than the answers I've given. The questions I've asked have done more for me than the answers I've given. So I would be looking up like Zoom professional backgrounds that you could download for a virtual background that you could use with your computer to create a good environment for you to sell. Okay? Because the more you prepare, the better you're going to do. Next thing that I want to share with you is framing. Where should you be sitting when you're on a Zoom call? Well, do you see how I'm sitting right now? This is science, baby. They should have maybe a couple inches from the top of the screen. Your face should be in the top third. Your neck should be in the middle 2/3. The bottom should not have any of your extremities and limbs other than your arms. You need to pull your hands up higher on Zoom so people can see them. Because if I'm down here, you don't see my hand as well. So I got to bring it up as I'm talking. So as you're talking to people, you got to bring your hands higher. You got to be in the middle of the screen for the purposes of a video web conference. I'm like literally, I'm looking at my screen and making sure I stay there. I have my webcam right in the center, and I'm making sure I'm aligned, that my top of my head is with the webcam, and I start panicking if I'm not. Okay? So, it's really important that you maintain this. You square up with people because it puts you in a position of control. Okay? So that's important. Make sure you keep your notes, your scripts nearby. Guess what? You can have scripts out now. You can have your rebuttals out. You can have all the presentation material out. Why wouldn't you use it? Why wouldn't you have it out so that when someone gives you an objection, instead of being like, oh, duh, and kind of stumbling over your words, you can say, Joe and Mary, I understand exactly how you feel. As a matter of fact, a lot of members have felt that way. Thing is, though, like the letter said, they did want us to go over this and, for you to make a decision today in fairness to all the other members that are waiting to be seen. It's not just me, it's Forbes and pretty much every publication out there is saying about the demand about what we do. We've got thousands of people waiting. And so the main thing is remembering we're an A+ company, 100% union. These benefits have been checked and rechecked in 20,000 different groups that all have hundreds or thousands of members each, all approve this program over every other program in the country. The main thing is getting your foot in the door, but keeping it comfortable. The one thing we don't want to do, we don't want to take food off the table. I want to make sure it's comfortable for you guys. You know, for most families, 20 bucks a week, it's like, you know, one trip to Whataburger for a family of 2. You know what I mean? That tends to be something that is affordable for most families. Okay, so that's where I would, you know, probably recommend that you're in that $20 to $25 range just to make sure we can get you covered. Then down the road, you can always add to the program. Does that make sense to you? So this is what most members are doing, and that's what I would recommend for your situation. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking care of some of the paperwork to make sure we get this in place for your family. In sales, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Now, I didn't have the script in front of me, but my point is, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, so I can kind of wing it a little bit. But if you're newer, why wouldn't you use that crutch? Why wouldn't you put together the stuff that you really need so that way when the time comes, you know exactly what to say and how to say it, and you can be confident. You want to make sure you're maintaining good eye contact. Next tip is make sure you're maintaining really good eye contact with the people. It becomes that much more important. Again, we've lost some of our senses when it comes to this. They can't see you in person. It's not 3D. This is 2-dimensional, okay? They can't smell you. They can't feel your presence. They can't feel your energy. So everything's got to be exaggerated, including my commitment to the eye contact with the clients that I'm talking to, okay? Next, make sure you know how to use all the functions of Zoom. Make sure you know how to use all of the functions of Zoom. Like, did you know if you click on Control, Shift, and Alt at the same time when you have a screen share, it shows you all of your controls? Did you know that if you're sharing a screen and everything is blocked out, when you hit Control, Alt, Shift, it shows you your controls so that you can still control your Zoom? So you got to learn. There's a million tutorials, guys, a million on YouTube of how to use Zoom. There's like a 7-minute video of just like how to use Zoom. So, you know, you can find all this stuff, or you can go to zoom.us. I would want to professionalize everything that I do, from the way that I book my meetings to the way that I send the reminder emails to the making sure I send the text messages in the morning. You know, make sure you know how to use the program, and that's going to come from experience. The people who are doing the best, it's kind of funny, are the people that were the most nervous about the technology. You know why? They had to force themselves to learn it. So, you know, this happens all the time. You know, I got people all over the country that will ask me, well, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? And you know what my answer is? I went on there and I played with it until I figured it out. And it takes time, but it's the only way that I know how to do it. You know, I don't probably know it well enough to teach it, but I can do it because I know that everything is hard at first. So, but once I start playing with it and asking questions and using Google, Google's your best friend. You know what I'm saying? Google is your best friend. You can find out pretty much anything in Google if you have like a decent ability to process stuff and not just believe everything you read. Okay, but there's so much stuff out there now with tutorials and information and videos. You know, make sure you're great with using the technology that you have at hand, because it's going to significantly help you to succeed in our business. Next, okay, next, this is the last thing that I want to, you know, make sure I bring up with you guys is, you know, eliminate distractions. We shouldn't be having, you know, and I'm not saying it's even a bad thing. Like if you got a kid climbing up on you like once, okay, that's kind of cute. That may actually help you make a sale, okay? You got your dog, your cat sitting with you the whole time, that's going to be a problem, okay? So like if they jump up with, oh, this is my cat or my dog or whatever, and then get them out. Find a way to keep them out. If you got to get a playpen, a fence, baby fence, I don't know what it is, but whatever you got to do to keep these animals out, do that. Try to eliminate distractions. Why? Well, not only does it distract them from your message, but it also distracts you from giving 100%. You can't give 90% and expect to get 100% of the results. It's impossible. As a matter of fact, 90% may get you 0. The truth is that if I perform a surgery, I'm a physician, I perform a heart surgery on someone, and I do it 90% right. I do it 90% right. I mean, it's mostly right. What's going to happen to that person? Probably. They're probably going to die or be messed up. I probably will have either killed them or done more damage to them than if I would have just not done anything at all. Business is no different. You don't have the luxury to be mediocre and average in your delivery and in your level of attention when it demands 100% of you. So you got to make sure you have made a way and have a plan to eliminate distractions. Guys, I thank you so much for being on the call today. Today, for most of us, is a heavy phone day. We're trying to book a really solid schedule for tomorrow and making sure people don't forget about you. You got to tell them, guys, we're doing this for your convenience and for your health and for your safety of not coming out into your home. Please don't forget about you because I'm setting this time aside. And there's nothing more embarrassing to me that I'm setting this time aside and I got to explain to my wife or whatever that, I got stood up and I'm sitting there like twiddling my thumbs. Please allow me to do my job. I take what I do so seriously. We're all going through a tough time right now. I'm fortunate to be in an essential business where I get to work. Please allow me to do my job. So make sure you set that time aside for me. Don't forget about me because I'm not going to forget about you guys, okay? I'm going to send you a reminder in the morning and I'll send you a reminder about 10 minutes before just to make sure you have everything set up. By the way, one side note, don't forget that these people that have, that you have leads for, guys, the majority of them, they're filling something out on Facebook and on social media. So Facebook has a video program. So if they can't figure out Zoom, I know for damn sure they got Facebook, for sure, because that's where most of the leads are coming from, okay? So utilize other things, whether it's FaceTime, whether it's their, Facebook. We like Zoom because it gives us the most capacity. It's a great program. It has excellent algorithms that make it very stable. It's the most functional. But when the ideal option is not available, what do? Pack it up and quit? Or do you try to find a different option? So suggest Facebook, suggest FaceTime. You can still give presentations that way and make sales. So guys, let's be professionals. Let's be great at what we do. Let's have a record day today and this weekend on the virtual. And let's just do what we know we need to do, which is to grind really hard, give ourselves a lot of opportunities, and give great presentations as the need has never been greater. So with that being said, Virtual Vasu is signing off. Thanks for being on the call today, guys. Let's have a great day.
Let's go.
All right, thanks.